It's important to properly dispose of unwanted medication or sharps. MedProject offers free and convenient disposal options near you. To learn more, call 844-MED-PROJECT or visit medproject.org.
The following series is outlandish, unapologetic, and uncut. Listener discretion is advised, but not enforced.
Yep, we got us a big show happening tonight. You know, the thing is, I've been trying to get you on this show for a while, and now here we finally are. I mean, we made a lot of appearances on the power play and all that kind of stuff, but this is the time where you and I, we're definitely going to be teaming up on... God, this is not the first podcast we teamed up on, but this is the official Hangouts episode.
Yes, sir.
So let me go on ahead and without further ado, because some people really, really don't believe I'm back right now myself, but I totally am.
You're like a myth. You're like a living legend.
Yeah, it's wild, ain't it? Anyway, look, here we go. All right, let's go ahead and kick it up then. Fire up the Hangouts intro. Here we go.
Okay, fine. We'll team up. I'm J-Man, and this is J360 Hangout here on
J360 Radio!
It's important to properly dispose of unwanted medication or sharps. MedProject offers free and convenient disposal options near you. To learn more, call 844-MED-PROJECT or visit medproject.org.
Yes. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? No, your ears do not deceive you. As a matter of fact, your eyes don't deceive you either, though a lot of us are going senile. I am J.M. Brady, a.k.a. J-Man, and I'm totally back. And welcome to J360 Hangouts number 12. And this time teaming up with a dear good friend of mine. You know him as Washed Ink, but he's also he's a dominant force in everything, just about. He's also the owner of Awful Productions, not spelled that way, but just as awesome. Twice as awesome, that is. Ladies and gentlemen, Marco Flores Jr. What's up, man?
Hello, what's going on, Jay? How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good, my man. Doing pretty good. It's just an honor to be back and also an honor to team up with you again, sir.
Yeah, I'm honored to be like your guest back. This isn't the first time your audience might have heard my voice on your stuff, but I'm honored, honestly.
Hey, especially after we kicked a lot of ass in Metro City and Halo. I mean, like the whole Power Play Showdown series alone was just like freaking awesome.
Yeah. I got like a smile on my face. Yeah, I loved it. Very wild, very fun, very cathartic.
You know it. Especially like when you get that winning round, man. It's kind of like that when I'm playing Street Fighter against you in Space Force. That is fun.
Yeah, it's so funny because like I'm absolute trash. I have literally until we played Street Fighter together had I not played Street Fighter in probably about 5 years. So. Yeah, it was still fun though. I mean, I don't care. I figured if I suck at the game, I'll be entertaining technically, so.
Ain't nothing wrong with it, man. Like I always say, come for the competitions, but stay for the loss.
Yeah, stay for the conversation for sure.
Oh man, and I'm telling you, like we get some good ones in, and that matter of fact, like. Shoot, like when we start up this other secret project that's taking place here on Discord, by the way, for those of you that have not been hanging out on the Discord and stuff, you're about to miss on something, but we will tell you later in the show what that is because I'm playing on something really, really great. And I got my friend Marco here to help out, along with a bunch of people from the Jam fam. So, yeah, you might want to stay tuned.
Yeah. Yep. I know. I'm excited.
Hey, speaking of which, Marco, I've been meaning to tell you. You've heard me mentioning about the Power Play series, like what the a mini event for it.
Yes.
Oh, it's been greenlit, pal.
Oh yeah.
Well, next month, first 2 weeks, days of the Power Play.
Let's do it, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so anyone listening, before we get into the nitty gritty of this. You have to absolutely commend Jay is like a workhorse. Like it's not like I like my fractionary content, outside of like the business that I do and other stuff I consult and like develop on. But like you legitimately are like pumping out. You did a whole month of like anniversary episodes, which is like insane.
Yes.
Yeah, on top of regular podcasts. So like, also why I'm honored to be here is like I respect your complete grind on it. So I mean, and you know that I've told you that for a year at the least at this point.
I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem.
Like, sometimes you get so stuck in your tunnel and stuff like that as you just grind and put stuff together. You never know how it affects other people, and you hope it affects people in a good way and it inspires people to keep going. Like,
That's true.
It's very humbling to hear that a lot of this stuff has like positive responses, and I'm gonna keep going for you guys all the time. It's just like that sabbatical, while it was okay, but my place is being here making content for you guys.
Yeah, I think the steps away help you sharpen. They help you kind of sharpen your weaponry, if that makes any sense. I think they let you take a step back and kind of go, okay, what am I really going at here? Oh, I could have tightened this up better, or maybe if I, zero in on this bit of content a little more, or switch it up, or, I just think those breaks are necessary. I think if you don't, that's the hardest thing about being a musician, I think, is like the points where you get, you see like a lot of those memes if you're a musician on Instagram that'll be like, oh, it's me mixing my track and enjoying it at 4 a.m. Then you wake up at like noon the next day, and then it sounds like a bunch of accordions farting into a microphone, and you're just like, what did I do? Like, how? And like, you can't go back, so you got to literally start from scratch. So it's like, damn. So I get it. I think those steps away are necessary. I've had to train myself to like go, okay, this is it for today. Like I have to step back because I'm about to go over a cliff edge that I'm not going to come back from if I start altering every single thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I get it.
And yeah, man, like that kind of mentality is tough. I remember like a long time ago, people couldn't really tell me too much anything. I had to learn that myself. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Especially starting off as a video editor, I was like thinking my work was like, fine wine. And I had to really, really take a couple of step back and like take a real like relearn everything.
Yeah, there's that saying, what is it? Kill your darlings. You have to kind of know when it's enough. My biggest problem, honestly, is I will work on a mix until I think it's perfect. But the ultimate ruse is that it'll never be perfect as a creative. And I think one thing I do is I love like meme compilations and like cringy TikTok compilations, because what it shows me is that like sometimes not perfect editing is perfect editing, right? Like when it even comes to video content, like sometimes super dry presentation is better than ultra snazzy, ultra flashy presentations, and I think that's one thing too, is like, so I get it. I think that's one thing that's interesting. Very interesting. But I totally get that about the video editing thing. Is like that is one of those moments where you sit there and go like, do I even need this part? Like, I know I love this part, but do I really need this part? And that takes a lot of training as an artist to kind of go like, just cut that out.
Yeah, cutting room floor, man. I mean, ain't gonna hurt nobody. Let's just throw it out. Here you go.
And the saddest thing is, like, when you show people, they'll never know. Like, they'll never know that wasn't in there. You know what I mean? And it's I the same way I take to like a writing approach. I think even like with lyrically, and I think script wise, was always like I had to learn as an editor to write scripts as an editor. Like I would write out the long form narrative. I even kind of do that with songs sometimes, even like with the musical structure, where I kind of go like, well, where am I trying to get to, or what is the point here? And then there's an old like hip hop saying, which is like say less, like, so like less is more. If you can make more of an impact with kind of double entendre phrasing and it's also a script kind of concept, because you never want to overword a character. Like very rarely can you get away with like, and Quentin Tarantino does this, where like, case in point is like the beginning of Inglourious Bastards, right? When like what's his name is in the house and those people like are under the floorboards.
Oh, and yeah.
To present the dramatic irony and the tension, you can make that person ramble because it's supposed to be like that. And he only does it in like 2 scenes. It's like that scene and when they're in the bar, when they shoot up those Nazis, I think, or something like that, right? Because some of them are undercover or something like that. And then those are the only 2 times you can get away with it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, okay, this is on purpose. But like, if I did this, one thing I saw in film school specifically is people fell in love with their scripts too much. And they didn't know when to just go like, I think that's enough. You know, like you're hitting somebody over the head with symbolism, or you're hitting somebody over the head with simplicity, which is also like almost insulting. You know,
did they let you read those scripts? Because some people fall too in love and they don't let you read them. It's like, what the hell?
You know what's funny is I ended up being Linda Calgo was one of my professors, and she was a writer for like Law and Order from when the show started, and she loved me and my friend's script writing so much that she let us go to union meetings, and also let us join her on overseeing like thesis script screening sessions with students.
Oh, cool.
And but it was kind of messed up because here I am as another student, but like I have to tell another student that their script is terrible, and you're telling them that in front of like 50 other people reading the script.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's just the way the critique goes, man.
It's also the industry though too, dude. Like and that it's also supposed to teach you to have thick skin.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of just what it is. Like, you either you can trim it down or not. You can kind of overly fall in love with it, and it's not something that they had to do. But I think that's even where like my background as a musician helped out, because when you're working with the band and you're like grinding a track out, I think especially as a drummer, starting out as a drummer, I kind of realized like, what am I overdoing and what am I not needing to do at all? Mm-hmm. Like maybe this track just needs like a simple 4/4, like 4 to the floor bass every metronome click, like, or not. Maybe I can jazz it up here and there, but not. And that's my problem too. Not my problem, but I actually started out getting trained in traditional jazz percussion, and I think that helped me figure. I applied that to almost everything after that. Like, you learn everything. You learn every single technique at its hardest, most complicated part, but at the same time, it's not up to you to use them all the time, because then you're going to look like you're going to be obnoxious. You're there to back up everybody else, like the guitarist. The singer, a bassist, and it's the same with the script. Like, yeah, I'm writing the script, but like, you have to think about the flow of where's the cut coming from. I think that's where I fell in love with video editing very early on as a kid, because I thought to myself, like, they don't do it anymore because DVDs aren't as popular, but like, remember like deleted scenes? I remember as a kid, like, being fascinated with what they cut out.
Oh, yeah.
And then kind of going like, oh, I see why they cut that out, because it's kind of explained in like 4 words in like a scene 20 minutes after that.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of being redundant and like, indulging in itself, it just kind of played it smart and very lean. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, all the time, man. Like, there are many times where, like, well, hey, we all know that the most form of arrogance is that director's cut, so.
And and I think one of the craziest things, too, is even recently you see sometimes, very rarely is the director's cut like the necessary cut. Because sometimes it's not. To be honest, like, sometimes the director's cut's not. Like, I don't know if you ever saw Leon the Professional, and I haven't seen it again until recently, and there's a lot of stuff in there like that bothers me about the subtext of that movie that I didn't pick up on as a kid. I just thought it was like a cool gunfighting movie. I had no idea what was going on,
And then you saw all the everything, didn't you?
Yeah, yes. And I was like, oh, this thing is like, this thing is in love with itself, even with all the things that I don't agree with in here. And then I was like, okay, like, and this is the edited version. Mm-hmm. Like, and then I look it up online and think, like, what could have been different? Because, like, there's stuff in this that I don't remember as a kid, And I look it up, and then people, like, there's these, like, YouTube reviews, and I'm just like, Jesus. It's like, how do I erase this from my Voodoo movie library? Can I delete it? Like, I don't even want this anymore.
Yeah, like, guilty pleasure, bro.
But I like, I just watched it thinking, like, I didn't realize all this subtext, like, I didn't realize all this other narrative, and I get it. Also, French filmmaker, yada, yada, yada. The latest debacle with the French filmmaker was Cuties. We'll just leave it at that, all right?
Yeah,
but like,
we're not diving into that one. I saw that.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, forget it.
Yeah, but like, different worlds, different countries, different norms, whatever. My biggest thing is just like, this thing was very indulgent with like the subtextual concepts it had in its mind that I didn't realize as a kid, But that was just the one thing. Like, I saw the one that was on TBS. I saw the one that was like edited on TV. I never saw the one in the theater as a kid. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't know, so yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them things where you liked it so much at that time, and you went ahead and you bought it for your home viewing, and then all of a sudden, oh shit, kind of like Highlander 2.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I mean, like, it's like a Mortal Kombat situation, right? Where like you see the new one, and then you look back at the original old one, and you think to yourself, like, the original old one is pretty good. Like, yes. In comparison, you're like, yeah, the effects are but like, you could have literally just remade the old one, and it would have been perfect with like way better special effects.
Dang, like, man, we done trashed that film how many times on our day?
I mean, we did one stream where, didn't I even say, like, as a writer and having been in meetings like that before, like, here's how you fix it.
No,
you make what's his name, the main character. You surprise everyone with making him blind Kenshi. He fights Goro, because at some point isn't Goro's like thumbs over his eyes, so it looks like he's gonna smash his eyes in or something. And I thought to myself, oh, maybe that's what that was. Maybe his whole chi was like this sword being a part of him. Maybe he had to learn to fight with instinct. Not so much by sight, X, Y, and Z. The power of love. Interstellar. It's the Interstellar story. The power of love compels you to go across the universe. Yeah. And then you realize, no, just kidding. Fuck it. He's just he's just some like throwaway like Mortal Kombat Gold character. Literally, I thought he was Cobra from one of those 3D Mortal Kombat movies or games or whatever.
Dude, the guy wasn't even Taven from Mortal Kombat Armageddon.
I know. That's the problem. I thought he was going to be like some bunk, like weird, super fourth-rate character that would have just made me smile with them pulling from like the bad years of Mortal Kombat, But they didn't. They played it like this fool was like you were hoping he was going to be the next Scorpion in the next movie. Like, no, thanks.
That whole thing was just hilarious. Like, I look at it to this day and I'm like, yeah, this is a lot of shit.
Yeah,
but, was the one that was putting in the work was definitely Sub-Zero, though. If we're just being honest, and Kano to a point.
Kano, yeah, and even like that first 5 minutes is perfect. Like first 5 minutes, it's too good for that movie. Like, it doesn't belong. This goes back to like our video editing concept and just like editing as a creative in whatever field you're in. Like, that intro, you have to match that or do better at the end. And like and if you watch it again, it just goes down. Like, there's no escalation of concept. It was just like, that's it.
Deceleration is in motion.
Yeah, right. How do we make sure that like 13-year-old kids can still sneak into a theater and watch this? You know what I mean?
Even then, they snuck back out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they snuck out to go on Twitter and then called the movie shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, what a great success this was. We should never do this again. It just hit my mind as James Wan produced that.
Yeah.
Like Aquaman director James Wan, and it makes me very curious to know what happened there. I think my little industry mind tries to figure out like what is all this? Like, you had all these like Oscar winners in the first 5 minutes, and then everyone just disappeared.
I guess the union came in and decided to say, "Oh, none of this." We play the game in our trailer, but none of this.
Yeah, too expensive now. Like, you gave everybody what they wanted in 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. we're out.
Yeah, well, forget them. We just need to make the money. We got the money in our pockets. Who cares about second act? Who cares about the third?
That's what's so bad about it, though, is like the worst thing about it is they released it in theaters and on home video, right? Technically through streaming on HBO Max, but like it wasn't even like a so bad it's a good watch. It was just like, what is this, and why am I watching this anymore?
It had no oomph to it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when you watch the classic one, and it got you pumped. I mean, like, even from, like, when the beginning song and all that kind of stuff, just everything about it was just good. And then you had a tournament.
Dude, like...
it was
I swear, the last 2 or 3 Mortal Kombat games take a lot of inspiration, I think, and this is me getting super nerdy with you on just, like, the entirety of audio, video, film,
and
presentation.
As you should.
And, but, like, the sound design from the old original Mortal Kombat movie is like, it's fucking powerful. Like, you hear his brother's spine bones crunching under Shang Tsung's foot. Like, even the ghoulish transition into his, like, throat as he's, like, swallowing his brother's soul, right? Like, it's, like, loud and visceral. And I swear all the new games took inspiration from that, which is probably why in the latest one, the Shang Tsung is the Shang Tsung from the movie.
Damn right.
You know what I'm saying? And to me, it was like, dude, you literally could have just ripped off the story from, like, Mortal Kombat 9, and it would have been perfect. Because it's the old tournament, it's Raiden, it's, like, Shang Tsung, it's Johnny Cage, it's, like... And then even with Mortal Kombat 11, like, you could have ripped that story off, too. Like...
They could have.
Like, they literally wrote you the movie in the game. All you had to go do is just, like, turn it into an hour and a half. That's it.
Well, you know, what I said on that Mortal Kombat episode I did on the J-Man show. I'm like, it's like they didn't even pay attention to the product that they own. Because Warner Brothers Games owns Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you're going to push the movie based off the game, but you're not going to do anything with the game to help boost the movie.
It's one of those rare instances. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those rare instances where, like, the one company, Warner Brothers and Time Warner, owns every aspect of the license, and still managed to only use like 4 characters, the worst story possible, and none of the creative team from the actual games recently. Like, why didn't you just get the script writers from the recent game to write your script? How is this that hard to figure out?
Maybe they just don't see him in the same fold, man, or maybe it's just arrogance. I don't know. It's weird to me, because, I mean, if it was something that I made and I had a chance for it to be a movie, I'd like to have some sort of, you know, influence on that. At least some consultation.
You would think, right? I mean, you would think what you'd want is... You would think it's Mortal Kombat on HBO Max, meaning it could have been unrated with how graphic it got. And they managed to not even miss the landing, but, like, break both legs doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's just like, and the whole world got to watch it. You know, so you had all these actors talking about a sequel, sequel this, sequel that. And I'm thinking, I'm watching the first 15 minutes of this movie, dude, and I'm thinking to myself, if I'm back in one of these meetings, the first thing I can hear in my mind is this executive going, what the fuck is this? Like, 15 minutes, you know, just throwing a fit during the rest of the screening.
Well, not only that, but they're push rushing it too. You know, like when they went in, they said, "Oh, it's greenlit. It's already ready to go." It's like, really? Yeah. So this is another cash grab, isn't it?
When they were like, what was it? Oh, Ryan Reynolds could play Johnny Cage. I'm like, dude, no one wants to be Johnny Cage in this universe at this point.
Oh, man, when people start casting, like some of the fan casts are okay, but then you realize that some of them push a narrative. You know what I mean? And an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is who I think it should be. And people get real arrogant with it too. I'm like, yo, slow the fuck down. Okay? Nobody's asking you for this opinion. Relax. I'm sure in your fictional fan film, it probably could work out. But at the same time, hell no. See, this is my problem with modern filmmaking, too. We use the same old people instead of, hey, let's bring in some other, let's start farming for the future here. But, oh no. Yeah, it's just crazy shit, man.
Well, wasn't the joke for, like, every movie in the world, like, everyone wanted Idris Elba to be every character ever for, like, the last 4 years? Right?
Yeah,
Where, like, they wanted him to be James Bond, they wanted him to be fucking Black Manta, they wanted him to be Batman, they wanted him to be, like, it's just like, dude, there are other actors, you know, like, you don't have, and then, yeah, you're right, everyone's fan casting is always Chris Pratt or Ryan Reynolds as the funny white guy, action guy.
Yeah.
Right? Or Mark Wahlberg.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, like, and you saw the same thing happen with, like, Green Lantern. Remember that? With, like, the whole, like, no one knew who was Green Lantern in the Snyder Cut. At the time before they swapped him with, like, Martian Manhunter, but, like, his thing was, like, and then Zack Snyder's thing was, like, dude, no, it's not, we've already seen that guy. You've already had that movie of that guy. Like, no. There's, like, he's like, there's how many other Green Lanterns, you know?
There's, like at least 5.
Yeah, 5 off bat. Yeah, exactly. Like, 5 here that you could use.
I mean, Guy Gardner is definitely good for a movie. Hell, he's a movie on his own.
And dude, Jon Stewart is perfect.
Oh yeah.
Like the guy he got was literally looked like a comic book come to life version of Jon Stewart. Mm-hmm. And let's go back to the studio concept of like the studio going, oh, you know, I don't know, you know. But then all these studios talk about inclusivity and minorities being leads and all this other stuff, and it's like, well, then why not let Jon Stewart be Green Lantern in this? Like, who cares if it was Ryan Reynolds 7 years ago?
Yeah, except for a whole bunch of people that need to make fun of it. I mean, he made fun of it in his own damn movie called Deadpool. Like, remember Deadpool?
Yeah.
Like, it's already been made fun of. We can move on from this.
And the funny thing is on Twitter, Ryan Reynolds was, like, talking back and forth with Zack Snyder, I think, last I'd seen, and then even mentioned, like, being completely down to play Hal Jordan for Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Like, so he doesn't hate it that much. You know what I mean? Like,
I
it's
just think it
also
was
like
more or less bad writing and direction for that, if anything.
Yeah. And here's where studios intervene, and it becomes like you could have all the right pieces in play. You know, way back when for that one Green Lantern movie, if I remember correctly, I think it was dude with the baseball cap who came in late but wrote the Green Lantern comic books. Why am I spacing on his name? Martin Campbell, the director for Quantum of Solace, like that, the newest of the new generation of like amazing James Bond movies, right? Like his movie before Quantum of Solace, I think, is Green Lantern, which goes to show you like how did you nail James Bond, but the Green Lantern movie was a mess, you know? And then everyone sings like, thank you, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, the studio is probably like, no, we got to sell toys. It's got to be comic book accurate. It's got to be light. It's got to be funny. It's got to be like Thor, because Thor just came out last year. And then you have, yeah.
Well, yeah, it did, but I was thinking, like, it's got to be like Thor, really? I mean, Thor 1 was okay, but damn, Thor 2 was a mess. Anyway, go on.
Thor 2 was so bad, dude, that I remember once it was on Netflix, I think, I fell asleep twice watching it.
It's the cure for insomnia.
Yeah, it took me, and I'm not saying this to, like, be an a-hole about fandom, but, like, literally it took me 4 tries to get through it. Same with, like, the Doctor Strange movie. It took me about 2 or 3 times to, like, I had to come back to it. You know, like, it had my interest, but then I would be like, I should probably go do this. Like, it didn't have my interest enough. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I love the Doctor Strange movie, but it's... If anything, okay, Doctor Strange is no more than Iron Man 1, dude. That's all it is. And even then, it's not all the, technical stuff. It's more of magic, and, like, I can understand. It feels like 2 movies in one, but, you know... Mm-hmm. It could have been a lot worse, but that's all the thing about it.
Yeah, I think, and that's the thing. It's like, it's not to say Doctor Strange is bad to me. I think it's just like you're saying, it's Iron Man 1, and I've seen and I love Iron Man 1. So it's like, I've seen this, so I know it's going to work out in the end, you know? Like,
Right.
there's no, like, potential, like, flip it on your head ending for Doctor Strange. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, it is Iron Man 1, and I'm pretty sure at the very end, he's going to still be cocky, he's going to still be awesome, and whatever.
Like, technically,
You know?
Black Panther was Lion King. Technically.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Black Panther is literally the Lion King movie. Yeah, it is.
So, yeah.
And it's like, what do you expect? It's a Disney movie. Like, they can't go crazy with it. They can't get ultra socially conscious with it. It you know, because they could have. The beginning kind of hinted at it, but it just kind of dropped it, you know, after that point.
Lord knows they did for the sequel. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking this. I'm like, okay, I get it. A lot of y'all want Shuri to be female Black Panther. I get it. A lot of you want that. But you see, once again, when you think of how many people played Spider-Man, you think of how many people played Captain America. Yeah, look it up. How many people played the Hulk? How many people played Superman, Batman? And then you're going to take a minority character here, and you're just going to have it as the one. And, you know, Chad wouldn't have wanted that. Chad would like to see the mantle go on. You know what I'm saying? And Shuri became her own character in the comic. So it's like, once again, people don't understand, like, you know, the argument. But me saying that, though, oh, now there's a problem. Oh, he don't fit with our narrative. My narrative!
Yeah, I know. And it's so funny, too, because I just look at that movie and I think one of the amazing story points you have, because you're like, I mean, we all kind of know Killmonger is not dead, right? And that's how Disney rolls these movies out. Like, the only bad guy that's dead is Thanos, as far as we know.
Yeah, as far as we know.
Right?
Well,
And
Ronan.
Right. And so for me, it's like one of those things where the greatest way I think you could have paid homage as a creative in one of these writing rooms is you pitch it as like, look, okay, so we know Killmonger's not dead, and we know that in the first movie he talked about wanting the mantle. Remember they fight on that cliff edge, that waterfall or whatever?
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing could be is like, you know, start the movie off with this concept of like T'Challa, you know, who the hell knows? Maybe somewhere in this battle during the Thanos thing, he got gravely injured or something. Like, man, write it off somehow, right? But now Killmonger, after being healed, right, and his perspective changing because they share that moment at the end of Black Panther, right, where they're watching the sunrise. And it's pretty profound, but they almost kind of see eye to eye on, like, that land is worth protecting is kind of the subtext of that ending, and it's almost like a reflection on like the MLK in comparative to like Malcolm X. You know, there's like peaceful protest version of getting what you need, and then there's a by any means necessary. You know, when the time comes, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I would think to myself, like, if you really want to make it powerful, you just say in the sequel, Killmonger has been revived and saved, and his perception has changed, and he takes up the mantle of being Black Panther, because then will he see what it really takes for diplomacy and to be like a warrior king isn't just be angry and, like you said, get fed narratives and be grumpy guy who wants to rob museums. You know, there's a bigger narrative out there. If you think that like in the snap of a finger some purple guy from who knows where could have just made Wakanda disappear and never cared, you know, so what are all these like intermittent squabbles about?
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
The pandering is just what kills these movies sometimes.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like people would go, oh no, well that's not cool because Killmonger was a whatever, and you're just like, okay, well redemption stories have been told how many times?
Multiple.
Yeah, you know, like like we can't tell a redemption story. Is that too mature? Like, you know, like I don't know, I. But like you're saying, it's what's in these narratives, you know. So I mean, is that for sure that like the younger sister in the movie is going to be like the next Black Panther, or are they still not? Is that not like for certain?
I don't know what the hell they're doing with that sequel. All I see is just a bunch of people going back and forth saying all this stuff until Feige or whoever's in charge of community relations say something, then I'll be certain. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
All I know is that much like anything else, it's just nothing but a bunch of misinformation. That's always
it's a bunch of
these days.
It's a bunch of scoops to keep interest, and sometimes it flips in a negative way, and sometimes it starts with negative news. Like we'll talk. I mean, people have been talking about Matt Reeves, the Batman, being in trouble for a year at this point.
Oh man, they say a lot of shit though. Like, Black. Not to cut you off or anything, but Black Widow. Like when that came out, why does IndieWire feel as though, much like any of these other female-led movies, to come and tell us that it'll scare the hell out of men, it'll put men in their place? I'm like, who really has to go that damn far? Can't I just enjoy the fucking movie without a whole lot of, oh, he said, she said? Does it have to be about a sexist thing? I mean, damn. Like, I
don't understand. So it's so funny though to see those marketing moves from something like Black Widow when like Wonder Woman was how many years ago?
At least like
and not even that.
At least right. 3 or 4.
Even before that, like Wonder Woman in BVS was how long ago? Like she literally saves Batman.
Yeah.
So who cares about the Black? Like if you're going to compare it to those like impactful moments, who cares about the Black Widow movie?
I mean,
literally, until they started remarketing the movie to come out in theaters, no one asked for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a scary fact. The same thing with like Matt Reeves' The Batman, and it's like where all this like marketing with these studios comes down to is like no one is asking for this movie. There's more movements online weekly for them to give back the Batman movie to Ben Affleck, and there's no one asking to see like more trailers for the Batman, which is a bad sign. A very bad sign.
Well, not only that, though, like, if you think of all these female-dominant-led movies, okay? I'm not saying that there's a problem with it, because they've had movies like this in the beginning. The First Wives Club, for instance. But, or The Color Purple, or, like, any of them.
Kill Bill.
Yes.
Kill Bill. See, this is my thing. Black Widow, if you want to scare men, should be crazier than Kill Bill.
Should be crazier than Terminator Dark Fate or Ghostbusters 2016, but it did not work for those films. Matter of fact, it killed those films because you alienated a demographic. No matter what you say, when you go ahead, men are a demographic just as much as women are. I don't give a damn what you say.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling that in all of that, in these, they try to make these like mini movements for all these movies. You know what I mean? And it's almost like obnoxious.
Oh, it is obnoxious and very unnecessary because, I mean, who's even arguing about this stuff now, There are women and men in executive roles all the time.
And what it is because the movie was supposed to come out last year in theaters, right? And so what ends up happening is all the trailers that they've pre-cut and blown their budget on, they're not going to change.
Oh,
so
of course not.
The way it works is Disney is like, we're already in the hole. Right? Like, we have not released a movie. We barely opened the parks. Attendance is not what we thought it was going to be. So these trailers we're going to run with this narrative, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Last year this would have been great. Before the election, this shit would have been fucking
a lot more fire than it is.
It would have been like Citizen Kane marketing for these people, but it's not. Now it's almost obnoxious. For me, I said this on a podcast a very long time ago that I used to do. Before Birds of Prey came out, I said, I want it to be good because I love all these characters in this movie. And I want a female director to nail this shit. Because, Patty Jenkins is awesome.
She is.
So a part of me watches Wonder Woman 84 and thinks to myself, she's creating this as a fuck you to who? And that's what I wanted. Like, when I saw Wonder Woman 84, I thought to myself, like, this is a fuck you to somebody, right? This has to be a fuck you to somebody, whether it's the studio, the idea of this, like, placating, everybody gets what they want within this marketing narrative, unlike what you're talking about. And then here we have this, Dr. Fate-esque character who's just, like, granting wishes to everybody who has a complaint. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, she's writing this way for a reason. And then we see the fallout with Warner Brothers and all these executives and like the sets being toxic and Gal Gadot being threatened on the set of Justice League, by Joss Whedon about like ending her career in front of the crew.
Yeah,
like
all people.
Right. The woman who like is up there with Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill as like, if you fire her from the role, you will literally lose all your fans You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why would you make that threat, dude? And so I think that's where I see these things, and like we're birds of prey. What sucks for me is like I remember saying on this podcast that like someone should be there to make sure this movie is as good as possible, because the people that will get the blame for it being bad, ironically, are all the women involved, and that's not fair either.
No, it isn't. I was sitting there thinking, I was like, because now a lot of people will disagree with me on this, but the ladies from Ghostbusters 2016, each and every single one of them are pretty funny. Even Melissa McCartney in her own way, like
yes, yeah,
they're funny, but this movie just didn't friggin' work.
no.
And because they were pushing that narrative and that agenda as a way of trying to ease in, instead of just selling us a movie, that's what killed it. You
want to know
know?
what's crazy?
Yeah.
On Rotten Tomatoes, if I remember correctly, Ghostbusters 2016 has a better Rotten Tomatoes score than Godzilla King of the Monsters.
See, that's why. I when I look at that shit, I'm always thinking somebody's shilling. Somebody's shilling hard.
See? That's what I'm saying. So there is, and I hate to like say it this crudely, but like there is no fucking way
Nah.
anyone thinks that Ghostbusters 2016 is better than Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Fuck no.
Are you
man.
fucking crazy?
Nah.
There's no way, dude. There's no way. And yeah, but that was in that year of marketing. It was like, remember, it's like they like dared you. They dared men. The whole marketing campaign for it was hinged on the idea that like if you're a man and you don't like this, you're anti-woman. Like they dared you to out yourself,
unfair. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then like, and if you go and read some of those reviews, they're preposterous.
Oh, shit,
man.
I had a field day running through them. You seen my show before. I was like,
yeah.
Oh man. Like even now when people saying, "Oh, I'm scared for the MCU." I'm like, "No, you're fucking not. We've been out of theaters and shit for at least a year. You're going to eat this like a hot cake. Matter of fact, you're going to get fat off of it."
Loki didn't even get his own movie. He got a show.
Yeah.
And it's only because Disney realizes people aren't going to theaters. Like, this is where people have to realize, like, where the marketing breaks down in these studio systems. And I don't know if you want, we can go into it later, or if anyone checks out my site, they can see, like, my little personal history. But what ends up happening is Disney blows so much money on the marketing for these movies that realistically they barely break even.
Mm-hmm.
So a movie like Endgame had to make $2 billion. If it didn't, if it made like Avatar money, it would have been at a loss.
Yeah, for Disney.
And that's the part they don't. Yeah, that's the part they don't tell you. And that's the big kind of illusion to all the marketing. It's like, and you kind of saw it in most recently with like Mulan. Remember, like they really pumped out a lot, and they made it seem like the
most epic movie ever.
Right, come get the app so you can watch Mulan, and if you don't like it, you must be anti-Chinese people.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, it just, if I wanted to watch Mulan, just like the Lion King remake, I would just fucking watch Mulan.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if this is beat for beat, the same movie, why, like, this is where the Mortal Kombat remake could have literally gone beat for beat, because all people would love to see is like maybe more action and more visceral shit, because the story is kind of the same. Like you still could have done like a time loop story, like history repeats itself because it's Mortal Kombat and these portals and X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
So you have that excuse built into that scenario, even with the example of Mortal Kombat 11 and its storyline. So now, with something like Mulan, that's not the case. I don't need to see Mulan. Right? If you're Disney, here's what you should have done. When you made Disney Plus and you launched it, since you just acquired Fox, you should have given fans, and the fans you weren't expecting, exactly what they've wanted for years, which is a second Simpsons movie.
You would think.
See? But there you go. If you were actually dialed into that fan base that you actually care about, you would realize that those two fan bases cross over, right? And to buy yourself time to Black Widow and the next Marvel movie, you could have just said, "Hey, we're announcing that we're going to make a new Simpsons movie since we acquired them." It might be the biggest budget 2D animated film ever. you know, and at the same time, it's only coming to the app. Boom. Whatever.
Say like you and I had a lot of money, right? And we go ahead and we buy a whole studio and buy all the IPs with it. But the thing is, we didn't give one damn cent about any of them IPs, so we just rest on them. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what they do. They just sitting on that shit. They don't care about The Simpsons anymore, and they probably care about, oh, hey, we got all the Marvel things under one roof. That's all everybody was thinking about when they went ahead and they bought Fox, because guess what? The Fantastic Four and the X-Men can come back. That's all they were thinking about.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, because if Disney cared about those fan bases, I'm going to give you 3 things off rip that would immediately draw in audiences. You give Neil Blomkamp that Alien movie that he's been working on for 7 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. You give Neil Blomkamp the Alien movie. You make a fucking Gargoyles movie, finally. And to super meta your superhero universe, you just make a fucking Darkwing Duck movie and get it over with. Get it over with. Like, make a Darkwing Duck, DuckTales universe. Fuck, like, that, dude, honestly, if you release Darkwing Duck and the next Captain America movie side by side, you know what movie I'm seeing? I'm watching Darkwing Duck. I'm not watching Captain America. Because I've seen 14 Captain America appearances at this point. I don't care.
Yeah, you Captain America out. But see, the thing is, they had that shit right there, though. That whole DuckTales reboot was great, man. And then all
exactly.
Like, it even brought back Goofy for a little bit. Remember Goofy from Goof Troop? They brought him back in there for a few episodes, and then they even made a reference to Darkwing Duck, and then Darkwing Duck got his own episode. Supposed to be getting his show back, too. And I'm like, but they ended up canceling DuckTales for some reason.
Okay, you're Disney, and you have Pixar. You just made the Disney Plus app, right?
Right.
What if Pixar made the Darkwing Duck movie? You know how sick that would be?
Would have been beast.
What if you gave Pixar the Gargoyles movie?
Even better.
To finally let them do something that's not, like, completely kid-friendly?
Yes.
Like, where is everybody's head is obviously straight up their ass on all this shit. And that was the one thing I noticed in the industry specifically. Like, we would be in these meetings, and the biggest thing you realize is, like, everyone in here is a fucking idiot.
That's it.
You know? And now you give those idiots analytics, and they think that's how the world works. You know? So the vocal 8% of your audience online isn't who goes to the theater. If that was the case, dude, and, like, shitty movies and negative reviews of these shitty movies were the end-all, be-all for movies, we wouldn't have 9 Fast and Furious movies.
Nah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we wouldn't have them, but we do, because that studio isn't stupid.
Nah, people are going to go see them. That's the thing. Like, I mean, I can look at them and I'm like, you know, I'm not entirely a fan as I would be, if that makes any sense. Like, you know what I'm saying? If I was like knee deep into them, I'd probably be going to see them. But I'm not into them like that, but I can't knock the fact that it fucking works and people are actually going to go see those movies because they like the characters. They like what's going on in there and stuff. And not only that, Hobbs and Shaw kind of broke the rules on, like, there's no realism in this shit anymore. Hell, there wasn't no realism in this shit when it was Fast and Furious, and then Fast 5 came along and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the clip I see of Hobbs and Shaw that kills me every time, because I tried to watch that movie, and I only got like a couple minutes into it. Not to say that to me, I don't know if it's bad or not, because I haven't seen the whole thing, right? But off my 5-minute viewing of it, it's a live-action cartoon, and that's fine. That's fine.
Big, explosive, and dumb. That's why we love it.
And thank you. It's like these should still exist. Big, stupid movies should still exist, because here's what's happened with pop culture, and I think pop culture audiences, right, is the reason why something like the Snyder Cut hit so hard with fans and did so well, that, like, it also broke, like, HBO Max's rule of, like, these digital movies are only on here for 30 days. Well, that's a lie, because Justice League pulls in audiences so well, quite obviously, that it's still on the app, and it's been like 4 months.
Yeah, but who would think that it didn't? Who would be crazy enough to think that the Justice League wouldn't have any friggin'
Time? And leave it up to Warner Brothers to be too stupid to put it out on 4K DVD by now.
God.
Or start re-releasing it in theaters, because, like, millions of fans online who make a trend every 2 weeks would definitely go pay money to go see a run of it. I mean, fucking, you know, do you remember way back when, like, Death Proof and Planet Terror had the Grindhouse double screening where you were there for 4 hours?
Yeah.
Did you ever? Okay, I went with my cousin Pablo, and we nerded the fuck out, dude. 4 hours in the theater when you're just enjoying yourself.
And a Grindhouse film? Hell yeah.
That's what I'm saying, and I think what happened is people realized, and like to go back to your director's cut thing, where it's like, in this case, when you want to tell story, we all saw that like what they actually cut was story from Justice League, not action, you know? And it's like, because plot can remain the same, but story is not plot. And I think that's a lot of modern audiences don't understand, but I think studios get confused. Like, writers must not remember that anymore, that old adage of like, your story is the emotional story. Your story is the literal narrative. Your plot is the physical journey of your movie.
That's it. Right?
Like, and I remember getting like, having Linda Cal go over my shoulder like, no, that's your story, that's your plot. Like, literally just kind of going, okay, like, I'm understanding where this meets in the middle, you know? And I don't think people understand that anymore. You know, I think the worst thing, to its credit for all its great, big, grandiose things that it's done, I think the Marvel formula has also bled into, as inspiration in every other industry, where, like, things have to be $1 billion or it's shit, you know?
Kind of kills the whole thing a high concept, doesn't it?
Right, because now, if you're looking at it from the concept of, if that's the case, then Shazam is a failure, but people loved it, right? So it's like, that's not a fair thing either. Like, you're in essence, when you take on that mindset, you're killing filmmaking. Like, if a director and a writer want to tell an emotional story, you have to let them tell that story, you know. So you see that come through with something like the Snyder Cut, where I think as a creative, I take a lot of inspiration from it, because it's somebody who is like, or you have a director saying like, I would rather blow up my movie, I would set it on fire than use any footage that I did not shoot myself. Like, that is an artist that no matter what, you should keep in the industry, because that artist fights for actors like Ray Fisher, right?
Right.
The irony is in all this inclusivity, they wanted to cut out the black main character of the emotional narrative of this story.
Yeah, see, now that is a problem, especially if that character is core to the story and everything. You know, not every character can be like the badass. Not every character can be like the Lancer and stuff like that. One character has to have some growth. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing is, like, Cyborg ended up being the badass.
Yeah.
Like, him in the Flash, like the two, what you would have considered like the most origin story-ish characters, ended up being like the Flash scene where he goes back in time to save everybody is like fucking profound from just a story standpoint. Like, it's so simple. It's in every comic book, right? Every comic book you know as a nerd for the Flash is like, oh yeah, he goes back in time and X, Y, and Z. Superman's done it. Dr. Fate's done it. You know what I mean? Like, how many characters have gone back in time?
I mean, Doctor Strange has done it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's passé at this point for comic books. But the way it's presented in the story, when, like, you have this bond made from orphans, technically.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, it's empowering, I think, as a creative. You know, and I think that's that is, in essence, the dangerous precedent. I know there was, like, a lot of cliche things, like, oh, it was giving Zack Snyder a director's cut a dangerous precedent, you know, and it's like, well, you know, it's a dangerous precedent when they re-released Avengers Endgame and they put, like, that PlayStation 2 footage of the Hulk at the end of the movie. Do you remember that? And then made everybody pay a full-price ticket for an added 2 minutes of footage for Avengers.
Yeah, for the rescue scene and stuff like that. That was so stupid. Right. I mean, I knew that was trash. I was like, I'm not doing it. I done spent 3 hours seeing this film. Matter of fact, I've only seen Avengers Endgame one time, and the shit's still fresh, dude.
Dude, I saw Avengers Endgame once, and it gave me a headache.
That's all that needed to be seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. After that, I was in overload. I was like, what did I just see right now? Like, it ended the way I could have predicted it, but that end battle didn't need to be 4 hours long, it felt like. You know what I mean? Like, damn.
Like, they shoved all that in there, dude.
Oh my god. Even down to the Captain Marvel thing. Were you there with the live audience when, like, Captain Marvel shows up and everyone's like, oh, cool.
Yeah, like, I was there. And then like, I saw her get cold cocked by Thanos.
But it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yes, I know, and I don't,
Well, she was only in like 2% of the movie, like really.
yeah, and every time it cut to her in the theater, people were just like, "Oh."
And that's a shame though, considering that the character of Captain Marvel is actually pretty decent, but it's her fans. Let's just be honest. The same thing with Batman's fans. Some of them can be pretty annoying sometimes.
I think, I agree. I'm a huge Batman fan, and the ironic part is like everyone gets this fucking hard on for those Chris Nolan movies, and I understand it. I understand it, but I will be honest. As a fan, okay, as a Chris Nolan freak, right? Because I love like his movies in general.
Yeah,
I could say that his Batman movies also might be the most boring, right?
There's a lot of exposition and growth to get through when you watch them. But I mean, it does help the movie. But you see, like I say, once again, it's fandom that kills it. It's like when you go too far and you're like, oh, there can't be anything better than this. And I'm like, well, no wonder it seems like Warner Brothers have a hard time taking Batman and Joker and having them face off against each other right now.
And it's so funny you say that too, and especially going to the Joker point. And then going back to like the Snyder Cut concept is like, and then there was like a 3-minute scene of Jared Leto's Joker and Ben Affleck's Batman, and fans wanted a whole movie of that.
Yeah.
After all the hate, after all the Jared Leto and Ben Affleck hate, all of a sudden,
now they want it.
Yeah, and like that goes down to like what, like you're saying, like they create these narratives, like with the Black Widow marketing, like these narratives are created, but with like the new state of things is like, there's no more marketing. Like, think about it. Like, Loki just kind of dropped on Disney Plus, and I think what they've realized on that end is it's really up to the fans if they like it or not. Like, and that you saw people kind of be honest about like, what is it, Falcon and Winter Soldier, right? Where like everyone was really into it, and then some of the reviews say that it kind of petered out towards the end. And and probably because one, it might have been a better movie. But what happens is when you're now only making the show to placate your app and not really do better for the characters, let's be real, this should have been a movie before Spider-Man was probably even in the MCU, right? Like, because of the status, supposedly, as important as these characters are. Like, this should have been after Endgame, like, immediately. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is it 3 years after in a series and...
They were going to do that anyway to go ahead and try to make people go to this whole thing because, it's just like anything else. Every single one of those MCU series were for to get people on that app. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
It's important to properly dispose of unwanted medication or sharps. MedProject offers free and convenient disposal options near you. To learn more, call 844-MED-PROJECT or visit medproject.org. It's important to properly dispose of unwanted medication or sharps. MedProject offers free and convenient disposal options near you. To learn more, call 844-MED-PROJECT or visit medproject.org.
Okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
And then not only that, like, once again, Avengers Endgame is the biggest, dumbest movie ever made. I say that all the time because, dude, now they're playing with the multiverse stuff, so now they can kind of do whatever they want to do. And then, like, in terms of continuity, like, with Eternals, remember Eternals? Like, they were sitting there talking about, like, Iron Man and Cap aren't there anymore. And it's like, you motherfuckers were hiding out the whole time that shit was going down.
Okay, thank you. I saw that trailer and I thought to myself, so I watched Endgame for no fucking reason or what? Like, I've seen all these movies for no reason?
Yeah.
Or, like, what are you all just going to come together and, like, do, like, sperm donations and make another awesome Cap or something? Like, what are the Eternals going to do? Like, and let's be honest, like me and you had said off mic just in a regular conversation one day, which was like, this is only here to explain mutants, like, being in these movies. Like, this is a hour-and-a-half commercial. If this flops, who cares? Because all it's supposed to do is just explain why there might be a Wolverine reboot in a year and a half from now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, Marco.
Yes,
I've
sir.
been a Marvel fan all my life. Like, I love them both, Marvel and DC. I don't know why people have to, who's going to outbeat who. I love them both.
Right.
But the thing is this. I have never met a damn Eternals fan in my life.
Hey, I agree. I have, dude.
What the fuck?
All of a sudden, people are ultra hyped for the Eternals. I couldn't even find an Eternals comic book.
Exactly.
We used to go to Meltdown Comics in LA when it was there. I don't know if it's still there. I don't know if it made it through 2020 or not. But like, I remember just thinking to myself, recently, I have never seen the cover of an Eternals comic book in a shop or anywhere, and it might have just slipped by me. You know what I'm saying? I've seen plenty of Daredevil covers. I've seen plenty of, like, Superior Spider-Man. I've seen plenty of, Captain America covers. Like the typicals, like the typical pinnacle Marvel characters. But the Eternals, for it to be like this, like, universe reset movie, what?
Yeah, I think that's spearheaded by Angelina Jolie being in the cast. But I'll be honest with you, though. Like, no, I have not seen a damn Eternals fan in my life. But I have seen a lot of Inhumans fans, and Marvel TV fucked that up. And I
Ghost Rider
at that time.
They fucked up Ghost Rider, too.
Again.
And they fucked up S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah.
And then S.H.I.E.L.D., that show was damn good. What is it, man? Is it because, like, they were on, like, outsourced networks or something like that? Because, as far as I know, ABC is under the same umbrella. Now, I can understand the Netflix films to a point. You know what I mean? But even then, it's like, that's still your product. You might have licensed it out, but it's still yours.
Where Marvel and Disney, to me, kind of shit the bed on all that is Daredevil was so strong as a show and a character and a narrative that after you got done with, like, your cutesy Ultimate Family Avengers universe, right? And you wanted to introduce some stakes into the world. You already had Punisher and Daredevil, and you fucked it up.
Had Luke Cage too, but yeah.
Right, but you know what I'm saying, though? Like, at least off-rip. Like, if you wanted to start, like, a Defenders universe for films, right? Like, you wanted to... And you could have put all your cutesy, Gen 1 Avengers, post-Endgame shows. You could still put those on Disney+.
You could.
But it speaks to a company that bought Fox without... Like, let's be honest, because Aliens is, like, heavily R-rated.
It is.
It's like, I know Disney owns, like, at one point a bunch of interest in stake in a bunch of other studios, but, like, the funniest thing to me is the most family-friendly brand bought Fox.
Yeah.
And if you look at, like, even just the status of the X-Men movies in general, right? Like, the X-Men movies in general, under Disney, you will never get a Wolverine movie. No. Like, you'll never get a Logan movie. So say goodbye to that precedent too.
Not on that same table, on that same token, hell no.
No, I mean, you're not going to... I mean, think about it, dude. They're Disney. They know that Deadpool is an easy cash grab if you want to make a couple of million, right? So, next thing you know, they're not even making a Deadpool movie.
Oh, man, dude, they're just sitting on it. Like, like, they're all ready to go with Deadpool 3. I mean, like, even Fox was ready to go with that. But then, here it comes. Here come Mickey. Here come the execs.
Yeah. The biggest kind of insider baseball thing about LA and Hollywood and these studios, having been in it, is holding deals keep you safe, right? So you only buy Fox. Let's say they never put a fucking mutant in any of these movies. Let's say, like, not even Nightcrawler shows up at one point, right? There's never even an Iceman.
Well, what it is I can't be there if Nightcrawler's not there, but go on.
What ends up happening is now you have all your properties back, but, I mean, what do you want to see more? Do you want to see another Doctor Strange movie, or are you interested to see where, like, Wolverine ends up? I would be more interested to see where Wolverine ends up.
I mean, like, who's playing him? That's the thing.
And that's the thing, is I'm more interested to see if it's going to be a train wreck, or if it's going to be really good, right? Because if you tell me there's another Doctor Strange movie, in my mind, all I start to think about again is all they're going to do is a repeat of, like, the WandaVision thing, where it's like this weird universe mind trip, X, Y, and Z, and then haha, we're just back to another simple-ass precedent where we've just established a new bad guy, maybe for a movie or a show or whatever. But, like, it played it safe, we're back to quasi-square one, and that's it.
Yeah, but once again, there's still a riff in the timeline that will later be exploited as a variant because of Loki's story, and then, we won't really find out the tip-top of all this stuff until the next Doctor Strange movie comes. Directed by Sam Raimi, by the way, one of my favorites.
I know, and see, that's what has me interested. Is I'm a huge Sam Raimi fan, right? From like Evil Dead to Darkman to, I mean, fuck it, even Tin Cup.
Yes.
And so for me, it's like that has my interest. My biggest fears. I'm also a huge Edgar Wright fan, and I know what Ant-Man could have been. And then I saw Ant-Man, and then I thought, I don't need to see this again.
Well, I thought Peyton Reed did okay, but I would have loved to have seen Edgar Wright's original vision.
And that's my thing too. Is like it's kind of like, do you want Hot Fuzz or do you want Paul Blart?
Yeah, to see that now you put it that way, yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is like I'd rather take Hot Fuzz.
I'd rather take Observe and Protect, but okay.
You know what's funny is Observe and Report is highly underrated. I think it's a highly underrated movie. I love
that movie.
Yeah. Dude, the ending when he shoots the streaker is by far one of the funniest moments in movies ever. Because
that's like some bullshit I would do. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And it's also like the loudest gunshot in a movie you ever hear. It's like so loud. And I know it's supposed to shock you, but it's comically loud.
It catches you off guard because as soon as that guy's like all running, he's like hee, and then all of a sudden, bow.
Yes, it's mad loud. Mad loud.
that's like I'm tired of your shit. Here we go. You know?
Yes, because I mean, I know you can't. I mean, with that kind of ending, you know, a security guard or an officer like pulling a gun and just willy nilly shooting somebody in today's world is not funny, right? Just like how Ace Ventura is triggering to people.
Yeah,
but I don't even fucking care, dude. That ending, just thinking about that ending, still makes me laugh because it's insane to me. You know,
God, if we ever make a movie like that's balls to the walls crazy, we got to do something like that in the end. That's
you know, I'm a fan of like funny accidents make me laugh. Like watching old people fall. You know, it's just it's these like cathartic things I think that are like super necessary. I think that's one of the things that like some of the big tentpole movies now kind of miss, like that cathartic, dramatic sense of awareness at the same time. Like you have to know if you're trying to be like big and dumb or big and operatic or like overtly serious. I think that's where some of my enjoyment for like Captain America: Winter Soldier is that like it's overtly serious, you know, where he's like in the elevator and it's like mad tense. And you know he's going to kick everybody's ass. You know, so it's kind of got like that Jackie Chan, like Rumble in the Bronx vibe to me, where it's like overtly serious, you know? And I'm with it. I like it. Especially because like there's a scene where they're running on foot and they're faster than all the cars. That looks stupid as hell when you think about it. And if you look at it with sober eyes, it looks really silly. But it's also a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you're allowed to have those kind of scenes, especially in a movie like that. It's a spy thriller. It's a superhero movie trying to be a spy thriller, so... Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, okay, he threw a shield at a fighter jet and problem solved. Sure.
Or he falls out of a 20-foot building and then lands on his shield and then he keeps going.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or like when he's stopping all those ships from taking off, they all land right back on top of DC with like hundreds of thousands of casualties, and no one cares.
Yeah. Or that whole part, like, speaking of which, somebody did care, because especially that opening of Captain America Civil War, where, like, the woman gave Tony another guilt trip. That's all you gotta do to get Iron Man to act a certain way. Just give him a fucking guilt trip, and there we go. Now, if you did that with Magneto wouldn't give a flying fuck. Magneto would be like, are you mutant or not? No. Boom.
Yeah. I think one of the funny things, too, is Iron Man 3 is kind of a mess, you know?
Kind of a mess?
But like some of my favorite bits in that movie is like
you
the
were
very
pretty light with that. You said kind of a mess. Anyway,
well, here's the reason, because some of my favorite bits in that movie is like Shane Black's writing of like when he tells the kid to not be a pussy.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But it's like while the grown men are shooting rifles at them, and he's like arming the kid with like a homemade phaser. Right,
yes.
That's like it's built up like a D battery and like a flashlight or some stupid some like Goonies-esque dumb thing, and I love that because like that's comic bookish,
Yeah.
Right? Like, we've seen those scenes so many times in comic books, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is wild and stupid, but so are majority of comic books.
Well, yeah, I mean,
You know?
like, totally. But, like, comic books were not made to make sense. Comic books were made to, if anything, keep us out of our parents' hair for a while and stuff like that, you know? It was meant to take us to, like, different areas. It's kind of like, when you read a Conan comic book, right? You don't give a flying fuck whatever really happens in real life. No, you just want to see a big burly man, or in other cases with Red Sonja, a beautiful Amazonian woman kick a whole lot of ass.
Very rarely did you expect, like, the deep, heavy morality tale, right?
Yeah.
Like, and if you wanted that, you could get that one-off, like, Frank Miller run of Batman. You know what I'm saying? Like, there were those, like, or you could get Watchmen, or you could get anything, or you could fucking read Spawn if you wanted, like, some very heavy concepts.
Yeah, or anything from Dark Horse.
Right, exactly. Or you could go fucking get a Beavis and Butthead comic book and not care.
Or if
You know
you
what
want
I'm saying?
something
Like,
really, really deep, read a novel.
yeah, exactly. You could have bought Fight Club the book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you could have done anything you wanted, and I don't know. I just think a lot of the industry stuff with that, like, especially with film right now, I think is, I don't know. I think it's in a flux, because it's like, what is there to draw people in? There's, like, so much content.
I was thinking that what I'm saying is, and this might be a little controversial, I don't know anymore, but maybe we need to quit following trends. Maybe we need to go ahead and tell, like, all this stuff about diversity and all that stuff. Well, here's the thing. Why don't we just tell the different kind of stories and stuff? Be a little risky about it. Give it a flying chance. Like, superhero movies are the thing right now because they're easy to do. Dude, I could go ahead and do a movie based off of Calvin and Hobbes if I really wanted to. Much respect to Bill Watterson. But, you know.
Yeah. No,
I mean, already have its audience.
People got mad at Man of Steel because it was like a quasi-adoption / immigrant story, but also like a first contact alien invasion terrorist film, if you think about it. You know what I'm saying? And it's a movie that gives you a bunch of concepts that I think people didn't want. It's like so... And to me, like, a lot of Superman fans to me are also, like, kind of like the Eternals fans. You know, like what you were saying is, like, you don't meet a bunch of them. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people who own a Superman shirt, right?
Well,
but you don't meet a lot of, like, Superman fans, except when a movie comes out that scares them or whatever, right? Because Superman's doing what he's done in comic books forever in this movie. And the funny thing to me is, then everyone's like, he's too dark. It needs to be like Christopher Reeves. When Christopher Reeves even said the hardest thing about doing Superman is over time as you do it more, he needs to mature with the world.
That's kind of tough too, because, like, once again, a character's only good as how people actually respect and write that character. Like, you know, there are people who do horrible takes on Superman, much as like they do horrible takes on Spider-Man. I mean, Brand New Day is a good example of how you don't really want to do a Spider-Man comic. But when you're in a hole like that, you know...
And that's the thing, too, is, like, I think, personally, I really, really enjoy Man of Steel. And I think for me... Too. Yeah, and I think for me, what even bleeds over are those concepts. Those concepts of, like, Zod is doing it for his people, right?
Yeah.
And that's another concept too. You could take that as a current border tale. You know, you could have a South American kid born here or adopted, and a sibling of his, you know, or a relative of his, finds out about it and is almost jealous. So jealous he's willing to destroy a world for it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Mistakes.
Like, right. And that's the movie. So it's like, so then who do you save? Complete innocent people or this one maniac? You know, let's go Star Trek. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, right?
Right.
So it's like all these Superman fans, quote unquote, got very mad, right? The same with all the Batman fans, where even Zack Snyder had to say, like, if you think a guy is going to have to save Superman's mom, you know, it's save Superman's mom, or if she dies, the catastrophic failure from Superman losing his mind is terrifying, right? Mm-hmm. So if you think you're going to break into a building and save his mom without potentially very badly hurting other people, you're living in a fucking fantasy world, right? Like, it's one man. It's a guy in a suit. This isn't even Steve Rogers. Like, it's a guy in a suit.
Hell, man, it's not even Lee Majors. I mean, think about it.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know,
it's Batman past his prime. Like, yeah. It's a Batman that you see get stabbed. You know what I'm saying? Like, some guys land a hit. One guy's point blank behind his head fires a gun. Like, yeah, that would happen. Young, healthy, strong guys in street fights get fucked up
all the time
by two guys. So how are you gonna? You know what I'm saying? So like, it's that concept of like, dude, okay, then you can't sit here and you know, and those Batman fans too. Like, you can't sit there and say you love Frank Miller's run, right? Or everyone loves All-Star Superman, and the Grant Morrison one where like Superman gets like really melancholy because he realizes he has cancer. That's a pretty powerful story too. You know, he survives and lives off the sun's radiation, but radiation also is what causes cancer.
Yep.
So it's almost like he's been overpowered this whole time. So now he's facing his mortality, right?
That's what makes the character a lot more enjoyable and approachable. Like,
right. You have Man of Steel, and then the sequel is a Bruce Wayne that finds that one last bit of like physical large amounts of kryptonite. And you're like, okay, so everyone loves all these other takes on these two characters. This one's facing mortality, being really introspective. But now that you see it in action, you're mad, you know? But that's like what you're saying is like, you have to protect the artists that are willing to make something different.
Well, you got to be courageous too in art because there are too many people that pander and stuff like with the direction I'm trying to take J360 TV to. It ain't gonna be the same as it always is. There ain't gonna be no cookie cutters. There ain't gonna be no. I'm gonna do documentaries on the Trump years, and I'm gonna do documentary on the Biden years. I'm gonna be stepping it up. I'm not gonna leave no stone unturned.
I think you have to be unflinchingly unbiased. Yeah, and I think that's the one thing too. I think with being creative, even down to like with the music that I make, like my biggest thing is, it's about something, but to go back to that say less motto, is like if you sit there and read through it and you kind of meditate on a line here and then you kind of chew on it, it has up to 2 to 3 meanings at a time. Like I have my perspective of where I wrote it from, and then there's another perspective of what it's supposed to mean to me, and then also flipping it for a other type of audience that doesn't even know me, you know, where it's just like I want to make content to speak to people who've been heartbroken or feel lost or like kind of left out and don't know where to go. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, because in all of the usual shit, I don't know what anyone's making music about anymore, really, you know? And I think that's where, too, like, when we're talking about these movies and stuff, is like, who are these movies, like, who is the Mortal Kombat movie for?
Exactly.
Like, who was this for, the fans or 8-year-olds?
Well, it wasn't definitely for the fans, put it that way.
And like you said, it's not tied into the video game. There's no toys for this. So, who the fuck is this movie for?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that should have been the simplest thing. This is a video game. This video game just made billions of dollars over the last year and a half. Okay, because it was super successful. We should make it for those people. Leave it up to a studio and a bunch of stupid executives going, nah, we need to make it for John Q. Public. Yeah. No. You know, like, you need to make it for the people who it's for. And I just think that's what it is.
Is very confused and tiresome these days.
Yeah, and then John Q. Public is also swayed by whatever hashtag is trending that month. Yeah. You know? And like you said, that narrative, what is people kind of fall into these lines of thinking, and I think the one thing, like you're saying too, like we're saying, like, being unflinchingly biased with the stuff that you make is where you have to be able to be like, this isn't about one or the other side. And I think people don't like that. One thing I've noticed with the music, making it and, like, just, you know, kind of testing these demos out as I'm working on the EP is, like, people want, like, almost immediate answers for, what is this? Is this a song about bitches? You know what I mean? Like, no, it's not, actually. This is a song about something completely different, and also not really just about some random bitches, quote unquote. This song is about, like, actually, you know, and God forbid, being a man and being emotional.
Yeah,
you know,
because
about
feeling
that's
a
certain
not
way.
good either, you know.
Right, and it's not like simp behavior. It's like critical thinking behavior. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm so mad because your ass is out and I'm horny. It's not even that. It's like a completely different, not even different perspective. It's the, what I would imagine is the standard perspective, but now in today's world, I guess that's different.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just, it's wild, man. But I mean, like, the thing is, at least we're going to be riding this social climate and all that kind of stuff as we make our content and all. Because I ain't stopping. I mean, I'm pretty damn good at what I do. So I'm never, ever going to stop. And I always made my peace with, like, you know, there are people who love J360 Jams a little bit more than the J-Man Show. And then the thing is, the J-Man Show stands the test of time because wouldn't be no jams without the J-Man Show.
Right.
So it's like that, and I'm able to cope with it. And then I just keep on going. But the thing is, people tune to the J-Man Show every friggin' Wednesday because I'm there on Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the one thing, too, is I think you have to know where you want to go with it. Like, who are you trying to serve with the stuff that you make? You know, and I think the diversity is good. Like, and to your example, like, yeah, the Jams listeners might not be regular podcast listeners. They might just be music heads. And that's totally fine.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you don't have to beg for those people to be crossover people. You know, like, I think that's the one thing, though, too, is, like, be established in who you want to see what you make.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? And they have to just kind of be confident in them. Like, my biggest thing, you know, on my Instagram is funny because, like, I have follows from people that I respect. And that's really what I would like.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
it's people like you, it's Mucifer, it's Space Force, people we stream with, and it's people like Matt Hoffa, it's like Entourage Entertainment. You know, to me, like, it's the people who see it, who know what it's about, is important to me. Like, over time, that stuff grows, and at the same time, the way I work and the way I've kind of always worked is, like, I like my website to be active. Like, to me, Instagram and all these things are marketing potentials, you know? And I've been lucky enough to come across people like you and Space Force, you know, and then, like, I've known Eric forever, who's Mucifer, and those are honors, if anything. You know what I'm saying? To still have those, like, working connections with, you know what I'm saying? And for me, it's like, I work on stuff, I focus on mainly street marketing, because I'm an artist and at heart, so with what I'm working on is, like, I've been putting up these little small kind of thumbnail portraits, I guess you could say, of art that reflects a track that I'll start posting on the Instagram too. And then for me, I see those numbers coming back to the website, you know, and for me that's important, where it's like to kind of almost get out into the world, and in that old cliche where, like, reach out and touch somebody is leaving, like, physical art somewhere and someone finding it and just kind of going, like, what is that? You know, after a year of being cooped up, you know what I'm saying? Like, being online and thinking that everything exists inside your phone, and it's every single hashtag, it's every single movement, it's every single thing. You have to watch what you say, but then you go outside and you see this thing, and it's completely yours to experience by itself, this little piece of art. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. To me, that's kind of powerful. You know, and then I look at what you're doing, and to me, that's powerful too. It's like you've grown an audience, you've grown a following, and that following is actively engaged. You know, and that active engagement is what people. I've consulted with brands, a veterinarian brand that is like a world-renowned accreditation for veterinarians, right?
Right.
But the problem that they're facing is that, like, they keep posting Instagram pictures of puppies, right? But who doesn't love puppies? But those people are not paying for anything. And the vets that follow them are not wanting to pay for getting it credited through them. So it's like, you are on kind of the wrong platform here, and you're using it the wrong way. You know, I think everyone has to know what their niche is. Like you're saying, like, you have to know what you're creating each thing for. You know, like, do I expect any of my music to ever be played? Like, when in a girl ass, there was some girl's ass shaking video? No. And do I want that? No. You know, like, I don't. I'm okay. Like, that's not what I'm doing it for. Like, I have my history in music publishing and growing up as a drummer, getting into a band, a record deal, and getting into studios and producing, and then getting into film through connections and film school. And it's just like, I've established my monetary avenues, and now I get to just, like, make what I want, which is art that speaks to people in different forms. You know, like, get through a bit of comedy, a bit of memes, a bit of music, like writing, collaborations. You know what I'm saying? Like, these things are more profound to me, because all I saw in the industry was just, like we talked about earlier, like dead air between the ears of executives. You know, you just got to tell them, oh, right now, you know what's hot is if men don't like female movies, they're scared. And then they're like, oh, they stamp the Black Widow movie script and go like, this is the marketing thing, and that's how we're doing it. If men don't like it, they're pussies. And you're like, no, maybe it's not good.
I have a problem
You know?
with that, because it's like this. Once again, you're alienating the demographic. If you're trying to make money and have full houses, like say if we went back on the live stage performance, you wouldn't want to alienate no demographic. You would want as many people to fill in those damn seats for this epic showcase. That's what you want.
You would make the content as you see it, as true to you as possible, and men or women, or any gender or identity in between, right? Would find it and click with it. So, like,
it's at least approachable. That's the thing.
Exactly. And so, like, if anyone goes to my site, they'll notice I've been doing these things called, like, missionary merch drops, right? So one of the things is a way for me to give back, because that's kind of always kind of where my heart's been, is like a need to serve others, is I just randomly I'll drop like official brand shirts randomly, like in different cities around California when I'm out and about recording or meetings or whatever, right? And the funniest thing to me is, like, it finds who it finds, you know? And it's almost like, if something, a part of my content might offend you, the other dare, though, and the other realization should be that, like, in all the comedy or the satire or the music or the social commentaries, right, and viewpoints and opinions, of all that, it doesn't matter, right? Like, these can be perspectives that, if you take into consideration, can help you grow a bit of thicker skin or take in a new perception, right? And not to say that it's supposed to force you in any way. Like, these things are just supposed to be entertainment, you know, with a little bit of meaning, but just entertainment in general, right?
Right.
And so for me, what it is like, that shirt being out there for someone to find is kind of really important to me, because, like you're saying, like, it finds who it finds.
That's it.
You know, I could make a joke that someone who identifies in one way or another could get offended by, right? But at the same time, if that person also finds that shirt, it's theirs. Like, that's like kind of my little trick on the world, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, this gift right here, this thing that's for you, if you find it, is specifically for you. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care who you identify as. If you need it, you need it.
That's it.
Right? And that's one conversation me and you have had over the last year, just in private, is like, we saw a lot of these movements, we saw a lot of these organizations pop up. And for me, and me and you have talked about this too, is like, when money and intentions get mixed and perverted, it's over.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it's a matter of, like, making content as a public service. That was even the point of the last podcast I did. Anyone listening to this thing called the Wafflecast, where, like, the last 2 episodes of its run is up, And a lot of it was obviously social commentary comedy, about when governments get involved with mass propaganda through media, especially governments that are not even yours, they're foreign governments. That is a bad sign.
Yes,
and I've been in those meetings where, like, a long time ago, we went to an investor meeting, and this is a for real thing. We worked at Tao Creative. We go to this investor meeting with this guy that we were kind of under, and then there's a bunch of. I'm not saying this to be bad, like to be mean or belittle or badger anyone of any nationality, but like there were a bunch of Chinese investors. This is in like 2012. Okay. So like, if that's what's going on. And I said, hey, so like, what are they doing here? Like, what film company are they with? Because at the time there was early rumblings of like, and this came to be too, and came to be completely true, where the Chinese government, right, a financial branch of theirs, also funded pieces and parts of Iron Man 3, right? Because it was like the first Disney movie, Marvel movie, whatever you want to call it, that like heavily catered to a Chinese audience. And do you remember like the Mandarin thing was a big issue with fans of the comic book?
It was.
Okay, so that mandate and change for the character was made on behalf of the Chinese financing.
Of course.
Right. So when I'm at this meeting, I'm like, so what do they do here? Like, I'm just asking whatever, because I'm just seeing this for the first time myself. And he's like, oh, well, these guys, some of them come to buy sports teams. Some of them are interested in buying the Clippers. And I'm thinking, like, I thought that, like, Don something racist guy was the owner of the Clippers. And they were like, no. Like, these people own.
At that time he was, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, So for me, it was like, oh. And then they go, yeah, they buy up. And then a little bit after this, we get offered from a foreign investor a couple of 100,000, if not close to $1 million, to add on an animation wing to this company we were working in for a project we were pitching. Now, I don't know how anyone else was raised. I grew up in two very crazy neighborhoods in Oxnard. And the funny thing is like, the biggest thing for me as a minority is when you offer something for free, nothing is for free.
Nothing.
Especially if you grew up like in the hood somewhere, nothing is for free. Especially money. Right? So I was like, yeah, so it was a very bumpy road to realize what that money does. And that money corrupted that entire facility. Where people lied to us about what studio wanted to meet. At one point it was Sony, at one point it was DreamWorks. These two guys who were under kind of shepherding us through completely lied about days and times for meetings so that we'd miss them on purpose because they wanted us to keep finagling the concept to be more what they wanted so they could get more of a percentage. All this other crazy shit, right? Mm-hmm. And that to me is when I realized, like, I thought we were trying to make like a Boondocks-ish, socially conscious, animated, epic movie. Right? Like, what is all this, like, all of a sudden you're lying to me because money's involved?
Jealousy, man. Friggin' jealousy and all that other stuff. Once again, that corruption, man, it doesn't take much. I think me and Jack from Final Shift said this before. Every person has their price. And as soon as something hits it, there it is.
And sometimes people don't even have a price. Sometimes people have, like, all they need to hear is, like, they need to hear, like, the average rounded up price.
Oh yeah,
like it's not even theirs to get bought with yet, and they were acting like just really, really, really ugly, and that was like the beginning and the end of me wanting to be involved with any of those things. I was like, dude, I have my connections, I can find work when I need to, and like I'd rather just kind of honestly do my own thing completely because it got bad. It was very toxic, very gross. And a company that could not see, like a lot of these studios, that the internet is your biggest competition. So with something like, going back to our Disney Plus conversation, you have this concept of like, your biggest competitor now that you're an app, right? If you're Disney and all your movies are on an app, is like, what's the hottest YouTube video right now?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So, God forbid Meg Thee Stallion drops another music video, or Cardi B, or there's some beef or something, or something crazy happens. There's some crazy viral moment, some meme or something. All your viewership for that week of that episode is gone because people's, attention spans are there.
Yeah, or woefully bad.
Right, exactly. And that's another reality too. So, kind of go back to what we're talking about, like when you're making art for what you to me, call podcasts art. I think they're art. I think they should be. I think they should be.
Definitely.
Like I even told you, like, your podcast remind me of, like, one-man shows. Like, people just having, like, these expository, funny kind of conversations with themselves. And I love that. That's rare, too. These things that aren't, like, murder mysteries or easy, bankable content. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So...
Hey man, I mean that's how it needs to be, and like there's a lot of us, man. I mean, a lot of us talented individuals out here, and not even just by born with the talent, but the things that we developed over the years and stuff. And it seems like there's always something out there wanting to kibosh it. Like me, I hate gatekeepers. I don't like how people go be down on themselves when they're obviously really good. Like, I don't like how people over here try to have a percentage over other people or think that you somehow work for them when you don't. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or like somebody thinks that you're taking from them. This is the internet. This is the open world here. All right? You're not taking from anybody. If you're not putting in the damn time for your stuff, but you're always going to act like, oh, I don't see how things are growing on the analytics. If you got time to worry about analytics, you got time to make a good fucking episode. So, and I always say, like, shut the fuck up and knuckle down and do the work that we do. Because, one of those gatekeepers, right? They said, is podcasting dead? I was like, who the fuck are you to say is podcasting dead? Podcasting is one of the most thriving businesses on art forms out here. The industry is expected to grow by 3.8 billion from this to like what? Let's see, 2025. It's supposed to grow.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna go ahead and say some shit like that unless you're starving for views? See what I'm saying?
I think what's interesting is, so on this old podcast that I did. The funniest thing was that people always got like wound up in like the overall, like the metrics you could see on Instagram, right? And let's be honest, like you're talking about, like if you know your platforms, these things are pieces of the pie of your total influence, right?
Exactly.
So we would use this thing called Sumall, which would give you like your actual complete, almost like Nielsen ratings of your episode. So it was amazing for me to see, like, without paying into promotion with anything, just making content that got people's attention. The 700,000 to 400,000 on average a week, of a simple, like, 30-second Twitter drop, just something catchy. And that was just it. Like, it was just enough to get people to the site. Like, all these platforms are marketing. So, like you're saying, you're right. If somebody has time to sit there and worry about like individual analytics on one thing, then you don't understand what you're really doing on these platforms. Like, all these platforms are to get you to somewhere. And what I would say, like what you're saying, is that established estimated growth for podcasting. What I think sports players and performers get tricked into is they think that, like, if I go with the contract and I'm on another platform, I'm better off, right? And I think one thing you have to realize is, like, every podcaster, and this is where I get my inspiration from my background in music publishing and starting that very young, and just kind of being able to see the industry that way, and my biggest thing was, I tell everyone, your version of publishing is your website. Like, you need to make that where everyone should go. Like, it should be it should be like a downward spiral effect. If I go to your site, I click on some stuff, it brings me back to your Instagram for one piece of specific content, then it brings me back to your website. Like, there should not be a bunch of steps, right? Because, like you're saying, we get tricked very easily into thinking that we think that the internet is really only there. Like, people are paying their internet data for streaming apps and Instagram, when if you are on a browser, you can go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think podcasters need to realize that. Like, you can get silenced and shadow banned on Twitter. It happened to us, even in the midst of the 700,000 reach a week. right?
Oh yeah.
Like it happens, and you can't let it flinch. You can't flinch. You can't get scared. Just fucking stick with it. Make your site poppin'. Make it look sick. Make it match your shit. Make it match your vibe. Make it as trippy as you want, right? Because that's like your piece of real estate. If you post on your website, you own your copyright. Like that's another thing too. People don't understand. You know, that's why, like, even with the music stuff, I'm like, one of my last videos, I'm like, dude, I'll post demos on here, but like, between the ass shaking videos, you're gonna see me or you're not gonna see me on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I am not shaking my ass. I don't have an OnlyFans, and that's fine. That's not me.
Right.
You know, I'm not some trap type guy. I'm not here for hype. I'm not gonna hit you with like the Amsterdam sex worker hotel room look of like pink and purple and blue LEDs and lava lamps and shit. Most of the time I am working. I don't have time for all that shit.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, so I can only give you the nuggets of content I can give you when I'm able to do it comfortably from like home. But if I'm working in a studio or I'm working on a project or I'm meeting with somebody, I am 100% zeroed in on that.
That's it.
You know? And I think that's what you're saying too. It's like, when you're focused on making the content, the analytics will come regardless. And I see my site analytics, and I'm totally happy.
Yeah. Like, the same thing with Spreaker and all that stuff. I'm like, the Hangouts episode is going to land at 10 p.m. on Friday, which it did. I did not say a damn thing about, how many views I'm going to get. Sometimes I get them on Saturday. Sometimes I get them on Sunday. Most times I get them on Monday. And it's okay because that's what it was designed to do. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the whole point was you have to also have that promotional content. Like, that's the thing, too. Like, if you're going to do it, have your other drops that support the content.
Of course.
Like, figure out how you're going to do it that fits your personality the most. For me, over the last weekend, there was an actual pop-up event, and I sent a bunch of shirts, like exclusive design shirts, to this pop-up event. For a vendor to just put out there. And I saw the analytics come back from that. And I got word back from the vendor that there is like demand for more sizes of this shirt. So it's like, that's my personality. I like knowing that. I supported a small business. This person was there grinding their ass off at 5 a.m. at this live pop-up event place, And for me, it's like, here's what I can do. I can give you some dope merch. You can sell it. And my website and my Instagram QR codes are on the stickers. That's all I want right now. I'm trying to build awareness because that person's going to see some music. They're going to see some comedy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to see the fact that on my site are links to you and Space Force and Lucifer. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the point. Like, that is the point. That is, like, my personality type.
And that's how I grow.
Yeah, and I see Wix sends me all my shit. I get all my analytics. I see everything. And I'm very happy. Yeah. And I think it's like, to use the coined phrase of like, you don't want to be giving off like small dick energy when you're dealing with your own branding. Just hold tight with what you got. Yeah. Like that is the point. You're either making it for a purpose or you're not. And I think that's the hardest thing. Like, and it's easy to rack up followers when you're making just bland, dumb content. Like, it's easy, and it's nothing against them. That's just the way I word it. But like, I could make a page and recycle somebody's memes all day long, right? But if I were to ever do that, I already know my game plan and timeline. If I were to ever do that, my idea is to make merch for that brand off bat. Right, because if I recycle a bunch of TikToks, it'll get me a bunch of immediate couple of thousand views. But at the end of every one of those videos, I'm going to drop a shirt design. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's how people should look at it. Like, why am I doing this? Is it for, like, my own little ego boost of, there are people who another veterinarian I consulted with, she has 30,000 followers and is broke. Over the break, because like most clinics were closed, people were hard on cash to take care of their pets. And she was worried about not being able to find clients. And it's like, well, dude, you're on an app where pretty pictures get attention. where's the turnover? Like, what are you doing to entice them for the turnover? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just shit like that. And I think you're right. Like, when you're too busy sitting there freaking about your analytics on one specific platform, you're missing a whole other thing.
Like,
You know,
I mean,
it should.
You got to knuckle down, and not only that, don't look for the quick and easy solution. Like, really put the time in for it, and you gotta love what you do. Like, that's the number one thing too. Like, all these other things that people always go on about. It's like, dude, I love being a filmmaker. I love media.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the way the business goes from time to time vexes me, but I love what I do.
Yeah,
So,
that's my biggest thing is it's not leaving LA wasn't even so much like me saying, fuck it, I'm done doing this. I did more after that. For me, it was more like, I don't need the studio to do any of this. Like, and that's what I would tell them is like, dude, you understand, like, I can work from my laptop from home. This was like 10 years ago. Like, I don't need to be here.
Yeah.
Same with making music. Like, you don't need to be in a giant studio. You just have to know what you're doing.
And be willing to make mistakes learning, because
exactly
not everybody is like, I'm sure that we talk, we hear about historical figures like Beethoven, Mozart, or like people like Paul Mooney and Bernie Mac, they all had to start somewhere, Yeah. And like, who's to say that the training phase isn't easy? It's never going to be. But you got to be willing to make your peace with it.
And the funny thing is, to add on to that, even in recent times, you look at somebody who stuck to their guns about their style and what they do. Even Dave Chappelle throughout 2020 got booed by certain people.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's fucking Dave Chappelle.
Sticks and stones, man. Like, that whole thing. Like, people were trying to get that pulled off of Netflix for the longest time.
And he's probably thinking, like, fine, they already paid me for it. Get it pulled. I don't give a shit. Get it pulled. I'll sell the DVD, and I'll make more money off of it.
Than he knows what to deal with.
Exactly.
Well, and I'm always aiming for financial freedom because, well, that's the goal, man. It's not just about being rich. It's just about being free from all that stuff, and it can be done, especially if I play my card right. And I'll be out there in California with you and Moose and that wild stuff.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. I got to link up with Eric too, man. Crazy. Yeah. When you get out here, it's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be wild, and I plan on doing content for J360 TV while I'm out there too. That'd be wild as hell.
Yeah.
So, like, sky's the limit, and if you really want to go for it, just do it. Like, I'll never understand people in that, but yeah, I do, because they want that quick solution. Somebody went out there, made a YouTube video, managed to get monetized for all this amount of money, crazy money, and then they end up losing it after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And,
It was, I think the biggest thing we saw in 2022 was, like, the idea that people who did, to say, like, you could go out there and do the lazy thing where you could sit there and just make bankable reaction videos. Still. And like, oh, there's another trailer for this, or I'm reacting to this funny little video here, and then like, but then what? Like, and that's always my thought. Like, but then what?
Yeah.
Like, and then so you get 10,000 followers, and then what? Like, and now it's 30,000, and then what? Now what happens? Like. Okay, so are you doing something different with these reactions, or are we just like jerking around here? Are you just like stroking your ego to be like, oh, I got 50,000 followers now because I reacted to Loki season 2 trailer? It's like, okay. And the saddest thing is some of those creators should realize that if they don't know what the flip for that is, the trick in studios letting people doing that, and not claiming copyright on it, is because studios have realized that the disposable part of that video is the person reacting. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the other thing. Like, that's where, to me, I don't think podcasts are dead. I think politics killed in 2020. I think politics killed what podcasts could have been in 2020. I think podcasts had the opportunity, and this is what I've noticed too. I've gone back and looked at the numbers for like the last 2 episodes of the Wafflecast, and they've actually shot up because all the things we were talking about became relevant again this year. Except this year, people have a different perspective on it, and now they're less triggered, right? Whatever that means. They're less upset by somebody actually making a legitimate joke. You know? Like, so now what you have is like those people don't know that they're the disposable part. And I think what ends up happening is pop culture. I hope podcasters realize that podcasts aren't dead. The biggest thing, though, is you cannot hinge your content on somebody else's content.
No, you cannot.
You're either the star of the show, right, or you're not.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
And see, a lot of people have that small name, big ego, man.
And the funny thing is, though, too, it's really easy to cover the basic, typical content, get the following, but the second that ideology falls out of favor and that narrative is over with, what happens to your content? Right? Yeah. That was the biggest... Yeah. That's why you saw people like Jeremy Johns and stuff like that, like all those guys in 2020 were like having breakdowns and explanations of why they won't be uploading that much anymore in 2020 because they're like, there's just nothing to watch. I'm like, well, maybe because you're fucking disposable. Like, if you're sitting there going, oh, there's no movies out, I don't even know if I'm real anymore. Am I even real? Am I alive? Have I passed on? Am I in hell? Is this purgatory? Like, at that point, you have to realize, like, man, I should start trying harder.
Yeah, and then, like, enjoy the journey.
Yeah, like, dig harder to make content. Like, dude, I had the most fun podcasting in 2020 because the brilliance is, with comedy especially, comedy is supposed to be the jester in the court, right?
Yeah.
Comedy is supposed to be pulling a pin on a grenade.
And holding on to the grenade.
Exactly. And that to me is even down to music. I think that's where jazz kind of comes full circle for me too, is like, I loved the improv of it. Like, and podcasting isn't dead, it got boring. Like, case in point, anyone who's listening who's like a Joe Budden fan should take strong note of the fact that, like, the reason why Joe Budden failed is because he didn't realize it takes no money to make a podcast. It's why they can project, like you're talking about, it's why they can project that podcasting revenue and evaluation can shoot up almost 300%.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? Because, like, people are like, oh, if I don't do this, you know, Matthew Santoro got in trouble because he, like, made a video about, like, how he can't make videos anymore because each video costs him $500 to produce. But Matthew Santoro has, like, 1 million followers. Okay, so could you imagine having 1 million followers and being too broke to produce a $500 video?
No, I can't. I really can't.
Thank you. If I was Matthew Santoro and I had a Patreon, all I would ask anybody for is 50 cents. 50 cents times 1 million people is how much money?
Hmm?
You know what I'm saying? Like, at that rate, how are you even broke?
He could make a video with his phone.
Yeah.
That's why I was sitting there thinking, I was like,
yeah.
If you got, unless he doesn't have his own equipment or some shit, but still, everybody has a phone, and almost every phone has a camera. And with the way he is, he ain't using flip phones, but even if he did, you can still make a video from said flip phone. How are you broke?
People are making YouTube videos while doing screen recordings of them doing, like, Photoshop Illustrator drawings and just, like, talking about current events. It is not hard to do, man. Like, it's not an impossibility.
I mean, unless you're a rank amateur and you steal from other people to the point where it's like you don't have your own style, which, oops.
Which happens all the time now. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And see, that's one thing, so to go back to your thing about gatekeepers, especially, I would say podcasting also has that cesspool of faux gatekeepers.
Oh,
right?
Dude, they're like everywhere. Oh, my God.
So I remember at one point doing the podcast, and riffing an entire bit at the end, right? And then a week later, a different podcast that just started following us at the time completely ripped off the bit.
Oh, I know that show you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't even support that show anymore, dude. Like, because I just realized how slimy those guys are. I was like, fuck this.
I mean, that the kind of guys, right, that they pretended to be feminist because they had, like, hookers, like, literal hookers on their show.
Yeah.
Like, they would scour Craigslist and find, like, a sex worker and then just have her be, like, another guest host for an episode. Like, that was the level of quality, and those people had 6,000 followers at the time or something like that. Like, you know, so the next episode after that, I just went after him. I don't know if you remember that. The following episode, the first 10 minutes was just me grinding how shit most podcasts are. They sound like shit. They're edited like shit, and it was just great. Then I was like, well, but Musafer and Jay do a great job. Like, it was only 2 shout-outs were just you and Eric.
Yeah.
You know?
That was a funny episode.
It pissed off everybody. But with that was the fact that, like, no one expects that, you know? And I think that's where you're saying, too, like, you have to be stubborn in knowing what's good. Like, you have to know.
I mean, it's your work. I mean, nobody would know. Like, you couldn't tell me about J360 Productions outside of what I would already know because I built it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, you would know. And then, like, I would like to hear that you like my show and stuff like that, and that's really cool, you know? Because I put a lot of work and effort into it, and I'm like, you see, the episode that we're listening to now will not sound like the first Hangouts episode. And I hope not, because of progression and growth.
Right.
You should always be working on that improvement, but people don't even try to do that anymore, man.
I think the level of expectation for everybody is different. You know, for me, like, even working with music, what I have up right now are technically demos. I got questions from some people about, like, oh, these aren't finished. I'm like, well, not to me, but that's a final master pass when you have, like, a kind of a full project ready. You know, you go in and make sure everything kind of has, like, a similar sound, you know. I mean, in terms of, like, mastering and levels and quality control real quick. And then, like, I also think, too, like, everyone has a different example of what they think their content should be. You know, so, like, podcast I did was, like, very much a radio show because that's what we wanted it to be like, right? But
yeah,
it also let me really respect, like, and super respect, like, what you do, which is, like, going in like lone gunman, making content. Like, that has been a huge inspiration to see and listen to. You know, like, even Eric saying, like, with the jam sing, like, seeing the live chat on there and seeing 200 people on there just talking, other musicians, is like, that's fucking crazy. You know, like, so I think that's what I would even, like, you know, would even tell anyone too, is like, it's, your content is what you want to make it. I think you have to realize is how to personalize it to, like you said, gain a little, start yourself a pathway to that financial independence. But do something that matches you. Don't sell your asshole out early. You don't let people know that your fucking soul is for sale like that. You should just make your content. And those people will find it that register with it. You know what I mean? And it's a grind. Yeah, it's fucking... But if you love it, you love it. I mean, I've worked on edits until my eyes were dry and red, and then I realized it's 5 a.m. You know what I mean? And I haven't eaten in 12 hours. But I don't bitch about it. It's not something I'm going to sit there and complain about it. You know,
yeah,
because,
never.
Yeah, I'm just like, I sleep better knowing that, like, hey, I'm done. I did that. You know?
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Yeah, as soon as that whole thing's rendered out, man, I mean, that's sleep time then. That's just the way it is.
And I think that goes for everything. I think it's like you have to know what your mission is with whatever you're writing, whatever you're producing, whatever you're making. You know, you have to know what kind of vibe you want it to have, what kind of like level of execution you want it to have. And some things are on purpose, you know what I mean? And some things are like kind of happy accidents, the way you discover them in the process.
That's it. You and I got a lot of stories to tell and a lot of teaming up to do in the future.
I think so, sir. I think so.
Hey, before we head off, though, you want to tell everybody where your links are, where they can go ahead and find you and all?
Yes, yeah. If you want to find me, what I'm doing, and what is going on, you can go to awfulproductions.com, which is AWFL productions.com. And from there, you'll be able to shoot straight to Instagrams that are kind of the, like we talked about, the little outlets for what's happening. Links to collaborators like you, for Space Force, and like supported brands that I work with, and check out what I've worked on and a little about me. And then if anybody else who listens to this is a creative and wants to link up, that's open to that too. And I know Jay is, so that's what these are for. Building what Jay calls is the tribe, which I'm down with. So yeah, that's really about it.
Awesome stuff, Marco. We will team up again soon
Absolutely.
And you take care of yourself, my man, all right?
For sure, man. You too.
And as for everybody in the J360 Legion, this is it for the Hangouts right now. We will have another Hangouts episode featuring Resin Sun happening this week as well. This is part of a double special. This is J-Man signing off. I will catch you all later. Peace.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details. Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry. We were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details. Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry. We were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
O'Reilly. It's Superstart Battery Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get up to a $25 gift card after rebate with the purchase of select Superstart batteries. Our professional parts people will test your old battery for free and recommend the right battery for your vehicle. For power, performance, and reliability, choose Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.